paying too much? Fair and fresh discussions about property taxes for your home or business. The Property Tax Show with Brad Hayes, Chicagoland's property tax expert.
Welcome back. In the studio with me is Dr. Jay Kinzler, candidate for U.S. Congress, District Number 6. Jay, I know that you're involved with volunteer work, and you're also a commissioner with the Park District of Glen Ellen. And it's a taxing body, and I know the taxing bodies have notoriously been increasing their tax levy every year. What is the Park District doing in Glen Ellen? Are we going up? Are we going down? Are we going to see higher taxes? Why don't you let us in on insight there?
Thanks for bringing that softball pitch in here. I appreciate that. I have relatives all over the country. My father-in-law and mother-in-law live in Arizona, much warmer than it is around here today. I have a brother in Florida. Every time we talk about property tax bills, they laugh. Florida is much less than us. Arizona, well, I think we have one of the highest property taxes in the entire country.
We do. We're the second highest.
And it's stifling. And, I realize I look at older people, as long as you have a great income, you can live in a place like Glen Ellen. But the minute you retire, you have to start immediately looking for somewhere else to live. You cannot, like our parents, like to live in a place where they grew up in and live. A lot of people in Glen Ellen and a lot of these western suburban communities, they have to immediately start looking to move elsewhere because
you just can't afford it.
You can't afford it. So about 8 years ago, me and a couple of our friends were looking at taxes and said, the Glen Ellen Park District was, in our opinion, one of the more corrupt taxing bodies in the area. And so they said that we would never win an election, that this was hopeless, useless, some things I hear once in a while these days. And we said, well, hey, we'll push that all aside. What do they know? And so we ran and we won. And then we were on a split board, 3-4. And so we ran a couple of our friends and we won 2 years later and we got control of the board. So the first thing we did was we got rid of all the top administrators who weren't doing a very good job. And we basically recruited what's called a Citizens Finance Committee. These are experts in the community that don't like running for political office, but were real brilliant people that kind of helped us with budgets, not just for a year or 2 years, but we looked at 20 years out. These guys looked at a preschool desk and told us when it would wear out, how much it would cost, and when we needed to calculate, when to do the expenses. We also made everything transparent. All our bidding was open. Everything we did was open, all our expenses. And all of a sudden, the staff started really cutting costs. And lo and behold, in this last year, on a $12 million operating budget for our operations, we had close to $1 million surplus. And this has been going on for the last few years. We've had these surpluses. And then we said, well, okay, so we fixed up things that were broken, like roofs, boilers. Instead of having referendums and raising taxes, we started just kind of fixing things and not crying wolf every time there was a hole in the roof or we needed a new fix a facility. We just had money that we had put in our capital accounts to fix things. Now we're actually lowering the tax levy, and I showed you our handout before, and you can see, going forward, in 2016, we're going to actually reduce the tax levy to the Glen Ellen residents for the 2016 taxes by 7.83%. 2017, we're going down 28%. And then going on forward, we're going to be down into the future years by 30%. So how often in Illinois do you hear a property taxing body lowering that levy?
Well, you don't. In fact, a lot of the taxing bodies, they, like you said, they build up surpluses, they keep it, and they keep taxing at the highest limit by law. So you're actually going down.
Right, yeah. And so it's kind of a revolutionary idea for Illinois. But what we're hoping to kind of catch on maybe with the school districts, maybe with the Forest Preserve, maybe with Milton Township, maybe with the library, maybe with the village, and all of a sudden, we can start really saving some real dollars. And, you look at Glen Ellen, we have great football programs. Our local high school just won the state playoffs, and, we've got great Little League facilities and things that are kind of feeder programs into those things. We just put in an artificial turf, and people say, well, where'd you get the money for that artificial turf? Well, what we did is we went to the high school, we went to the soccer club, we went to the rugby club, we went to the field hockey club, and everybody chipped in because everybody's using it, and so it hardly cost the taxpayers anything. And the cost for the turf was like $100,000 a year to put the sod down, which we don't have to pay for because it's artificial turf. So
you're using some reasonable, practical, conservative approaches to things.
You just use common sense, and voila, you have all this money at the end of the year left over that you don't have to give back. In
about a minute and a half that we have left, I have to ask, since you're a doctor, what role should the federal government play in health care? And that's going to be a long answer, I'm sure, but maybe make it real as short as you can.
Make it short. Basically, you don't want the federal government running your health care system, or you're going to end up with something like the VA system where everybody's in a big clinic and at 5 o'clock, if you haven't been called yet your number, they just tell you to come back tomorrow. We have a great health care system. Doctors make sure that everybody gets taken care of. Before Obamacare, those 55 million people that didn't have health insurance, they still had health care. If they came in and Kinzler was on call in the ER, they still got care. They got care in the hospital. And they also got care afterwards when they left the hospital, because that's just how it was. Right now, there's been a lot of cost shifting. A lot of people have lost good policies. A lot of people are paying more. I've actually seen decreased access to health care with Obamacare because people with high deductibles, high out-of-pocket expenses aren't coming in till they're further along in their disease process, and now they're in bigger trouble when they see me than if they would have came in sooner. I'm also seeing companies purposely not expanding because they worry about all the Obamacare restrictions when they increase their number of employees. I've seen this. And I just don't like the government having their hand in things because the government just doesn't do as good a job as private sector.
So it sounds like we still have a lot of work to do.
We do, and I've got a lot of ideas on how to fix it.
Jay, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. I wish you well with the upcoming primary. And this is Brad Hayes, the Property Tax Show. We've been speaking with Jay Kinzler, candidate for U.S. Congress, District Number 6.
Brad, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.